know, we got skyrocketing insurance costs, inflation, the age of our development, and other things, other amenities. We have here at Western Bay a number of amenities that we have to take care of. I'm sure if I would ask you how many amenities you have here, I don't know if anybody would know how many amenities we have, but I'll tell you we have 14. And that's quite a lot of amenities. I've done some service with some of the friends that I play pickleball with and listen to what they have. Some of them have 3 and 4. So certainly 13 or 14 amenities is quite a lot. We're going to discuss later on security. We're going to discuss CenturyLink, but all of these things revolve around money. And that's one of the things that we're going to discuss tonight. So I thank you for being here tonight, and I hope we'll have a very productive dialogue. We're here to hear some of your questions and concerns. I'd like to start with some of the committee reports with the infrastructure report.
All right, there were 3 projects we had going on, informed everyone about over the last 2 meetings. The first one was the back gate was finally fixed. That took a while. We ended up ordering a new board. There was a controller system that was set up behind the wall because of the problem with the roots getting into everything. They moved that outside. Everything's been redone and set back up, and that's running. One thing we did find out during this process was the city emergency service was not being notified when the back gates were shut down. And that came out when I saw a posting on next door that an ambulance showed up at the back gate and couldn't get in. So the office knows, everyone knows anytime any gate goes down, they can't come in. We have to notify emergency services just for that. Police, ambulance, and fire department tries to get through. The second one was the subsidence of the crosswalk at the corner intersection of Pecoria and Westyn Bay Boulevard. That was repaired on the 8th, done pretty quickly in less than 4 hours. The last thing was done back on Westyn Cove at 2903. There was a drain that was constantly flowing. The new drain line was put in from the back wall out to the front, but was constantly flowing down the gutter, and they were complaining over there. It was always algae building up, and they didn't like it. So we had a new line that connected right into the manhole. We just put it underneath the driveway and went over and poured into the back of the manhole. So now it drains straight into the manhole. There's no more water going down the curb. So that was done on the 14th.
Okay, thanks a lot, Art. I don't see anyone from the communications committee here. Noted their report was submitted. We is out of the country. Let's move on. Finance.
Sure. The finance report. There was some available on the table back there. Hopefully you can pick one up. Just a high level overview. Here today, 8 months into the fiscal year, we are 1% over the budget. In other words, we have a $10,000 net deficit right now as of through 8 months. And you can see the specific line items in here. Cash on hand is $597,030. That's down $93,000 from the last month, and I can explain that by here in a second. The cash reserves are $2.645 million. That's up $1,208 from last month. Over the last 3 months, the reserve cash on hand is up $45,100, and the total reserves on hand is $2,641,920. That's up to $4315, and that total in the reserve accounts is up just a shade under $17,000 over the last 3 months. Last month, previous 3 month rolling average, I think the 3 months most recent, that was up 12,660. So we gained about 4,000 in this quarter, rolling quarter over last quarter. Then the reserves total are up 17,439. Just to hit a couple of the income and expense lines. Total income of 4% over budget. That's due to the interest income on the investments. That's $38,480 over budget on income. And on expenses, total there is 5% over on income. So But 4% over on income, 5% over on expenses, that's that 1% being under. And you see the various categories of budget. The general administrative is 1.3% over budget. The grounds is 10%. The Eagle County Wall is 2.9% under budget. The big one is the recreation, and that's because we had a lot of pool catch up and expense, new pump, things like that. So that's 48% over, at almost $17,000 over. And then utilities, they were actually 2.3% under budget. My house was under budget on utilities. But that's that. And then that leads to the total expenses of 48,600 over the budgeted, which is the 5%.
Thank you very much, Brian. Only one thing I'd like to bring up was security, that number of complaints, individuals saying, things like the Amazon, FedEx truck come to their house and they didn't get a call. Oftentimes when those trucks come in, they just give us one address, 5 or 6 addresses, and that's something that we can't control. So, I know that there've been some situations where individuals have gone down and, had altercations or confrontations with guards. We'd ask if having a problem with the guards to either contact them or members of the board. We only have one guard, so if you're talking to them, it's distracting, lines backing up. So we ask that you not have any interactions with the guards, and any complaints that you have, that you send them to us. We are working with the company CWS to address issues that come up, and they have been working with us. They have terminated some employees not following the protocol. So we ask that you bring the complaints to us and not go directly to the guard's office. Yes.
Oh, that's kind of silly, because Amazon sends you a notification, and they even oh, your truck, your delivery is like 10 stops away. You can track the delivery. So for somebody to complain that they didn't get called from Amazon or FedEx is coming through, that's kind of stupid.
And the same thing for Walmart. They
All delivery services, yeah.
they don't let you know ahead of time once it comes.
They're making.
And then once it's delivered, they'll tell you it's delivered. So
So feature they can just turn on, some people just have to turn it on, but they can turn that feature on. Notified, yes.
Well, that has been a constant complaint, so.
It's impossible for the guard to sit there and go through 10 different lists and call 10 different people, and the line will be all the way up in the street, so.
Little bit of history, the main purpose of having them stop and show driver's license is to make sure they have a license. Otherwise, we, the HOA, would be liable if they got into an accident and they didn't have a driver's license. So that, once it gets checked once, checking it 7 or 8 more times doesn't do it again.
Yeah.
information, thank you. Not know that.
I do have a question, yes. Previously, there was historical data in the system on the visitors that came in. Do we no longer require them to keep that information? Because now I can look at my history and I have no idea who came to visit me. Previously, I could. I don't know if there's scope change.
You should still be able to see that in Dwelling Live. If you go to your guest history, it'll show you all the guests that are let in.
Well, I think I've seen maybe twice,
It does,
two folks.
it does.
Previously, I was able to go in there and take a look at any and everyone that had visited me.
If they only stay there for 24 hours, then they get cleaned off. The guest who comes in, that's not on your list, your guest list, firm list. If they come into the gate, like say, Amazon or somebody, and they let them through, whatever, it's a visitor. It's only registered for 24 hours. So that's, after that, they get cleaned up. So it's starting next next.
But you do get an email.
I think he's talking about the history.
Yeah,
That's what it's saying.
Yes, in the past, anytime you had a guest come to the gate, you would get a text or email, basically. That's completely stopped on my situation.
Okay, that's an option. You can check.
I
that.
tried, I've checked on it, I've done that, but I still get some texts or email. Of people coming to the gate this time around. When we actually go to the gate, it would actually send me an email,
Yeah.
but that doesn't happen in the last 2 years.
One of the reason for that also is that, some time ago, the live sent us an email that asks the resident if we can cut down and using the text because when you use the text system through Run Live, it creates traffic and it slows it down, and sometimes they ask us to try to refrain not to use the text notification.
So they pick and choose who gets this and doesn't.
So they kind of like, cut it down a little. And it costs us money to the HOA, every text that goes out.
So wait, can we wait to the budget? So what are you gonna do about the things that are over budget? When he was reading.
We're gonna address that. They are.
Based on what Carl was mentioning, that it costs us for every text, so where is that on this budget? So I'm just curious, how much does it cost that we incur supply?
I don't have that figure in front of me, but it's in their billing system monthly, when they invoice the HOA, it's the. They get the figure, it's $8.
I suspect it's here.
They mentioned, they said that they had 300 and some respondents, and 74% of the respondents were in favor of keeping it. Along
That's not number, account number 6980, which is in the, back page, page 4. And the going line. We're actually under budget, $800 for the year in that line, go forward some more tax.
If you need to check, let's make sure you check your box, you're in your portal, and just check that box.
I have this, I go to work.
Carl, how do they determine, how do they bill us, is there a number of text messages that they send out?
We have let's say we pay for a bank, let's say 3,000 texts for the month. And if we use them up, that's it. Otherwise, we have to go to the next level.
Send minimum.
Yeah.
What's the mean, you might not know this off the top of your head, but is there, what's the cost difference between one we have and the unlimited plan or?
If that is something we have to go back and look at their dwelling life schedule pricing to see exactly. But offhand, I don't have that information. But that's what it's set up.
It just seems a little silly that some people get notified and others don't.
Yeah.
It depends on if you get some or.
Probably they, after you reach that maximum, they probably will cut it off. I don't know. There's the tier level,
Sure.
So, they probably stop after complete that tier level.
Certainly something that we could look at, especially since we look at the
Yeah,
budget.
we could probably look at that, if they increase it or something.
Or just have all your visitors come the first few days of the month.
I don't want any visitors.
Then you're saving us.
Trying.
Okay, well, in your packages, you should have had the minutes from last week's meeting. And then a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll make a motion to accept the last month minutes for August 25th, 2025.
Just need your report.
All in favor? Motion on the floor to approve the minutes by Carl, seconded by Brian. All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Yeah, no.
On the new business, you have to ratify a couple of the actions that we took this month. We have tree trimming, $710, right choice. And then we have 2450 from the 19 for pest control services, so quarterly, $450 a quarter, $650 in each short payment. And then $1765 to fix the gearbox, the front gate. A motion to,
I made a motion to approve,
Hey, Mark,
ratify the, rectify.
Hold on.
the previous contract, which we used to build the basis of the new contract, now in effect, the palm trimming was included.
So, we looked over that, it was up to a certain height. These were the tall ones, and it says in the contract, anything over 30 will be able to get. Because they have to get the equipment and everything for that, like the lifts, so they don't put that in the contract, this could be
So they're charging for the whole thing or just the 30 feet?
just the ones that were over 30 feet.
So who are you using for the palm tree? And
try choice,
who,
try choice,
is that who's doing all the work in here or that's?
yes.
It's the contractor for the association.
So do you think, like, if they're in the neighborhood, they would give the trim something in our yard?
If you wanna email me, I can,
Give me their time?
yeah, they would think about that.
Some companies do that, some don't.
Yeah, Tri-Choice will, they'll provide you with quotes and maybe,
As long as they're
yeah,
here.
yeah. That's not just email me and I can put you in touch with them. Yeah, they're good about that, they'll help out the homeowners.
So, any other questions? Thanks, John. Right,
Okay, so I made a motion.
and a second, all right, we have a motion on the floor to ratify those three contracts. Motion by Carl, seconded by Brian, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and carries. Okay, open up our budget discussion, talking about CenturyLink contract and security. They're going to go for food. Thank you.
We received the language is correct. The preliminary draft budget, which is based on 6 months of actuals for the first 6 months of this year. Double that would be the projected expenditures for this year. And then with the known increases for insurance policy and the various contracts and things like that. Leland puts together a proposed draft budget. Then it comes to us and the finance team and ultimately the board and the community input. And we will go through the budget and make adjustments as needed, required, requested. And hopefully at the goals at the October meeting, we'll have the budget to present. So with that as a process, what we received in the preliminary budget was going to be a 23.7% increase in the assessments. Like DCCRs mandate no more than 10%. And that's total operations and reserve allocation. So we have some decisions to make. And when we look at the budget, our three largest line items in the budget were, back to that list over here, the CenturyLink contract, and that is roughly 11.5% of the proposed 26 budget. It's 14% of the 25 budget. These percentages to give you are on the preliminary proposed 26 budget. So for this year, they're actually going to be a little higher than this. But the CenturyLink is 11.5%. Security is 14.1%. And the landscaping is 11.7%. Those three big ticket items together are 37.3% of the budget proposed for next year, which of course shows that increase. So the total cost of those three items in this year's budget is above 40%. Yes, Terry.
A question, correct me if I'm thinking wrong. I thought the CenturyLink was a fixed over 10 years. So why was there an increase?
There's no increase.
Oh, it's just a percentage of our budget.
Yeah, it's a
Okay,
percentage of-
okay.
And there's nothing you can do about CenturyLink.
Correct. That's a 10-year contract. The option is to get out of it, pay an exit fee, and we
How much is yes?
roughly 100,000 more than time. That would save $1 million over the next 5 years.
I think it's 111 now.
But that, looking at that for budget comparison purposes is good because it's a pass through.
Yeah, and that's
It comes straight from resident to central.
Yeah.
and that's where we'll get into all these details.
Not really something you can twiddle on, but
No, that's a fixed cost each month, and it's good. That piece won't go up or down over the first 9 years of the contract. I believe the 10th year there's a bump. which is very typical in a lengthy contract like that. It's an incentive to get you to re-sign for another 10 years, and they'll discount that 10th year, like commercial leasing. But anyway, back to the three large items.
So there's almost 70% of other things.
Yes, ma'am.
So
70% of it. We have, as Warren mentioned, we have 14
Trying to see if I can put it on that
entities.
speaker for the TV.
And, Jim, something else? Yeah, you can read those down. Give you a high level overview. So we have the band front gate. We have the fiber optic activity, that's the Century Link, both the infrastructure to do that, fiber and services. We have the clubhouse, where we are right now, the pool. We have the lake that my daughter skated her skateboard off of into the lake a few years ago, that was a joy. I see dealing with a 15-year-old who lost her skateboard, that wasn't fun. Anyway, we have the trail, the walking trail, the bicycle trail. We have the racket sport courts, the tennis courts over here, pickleball. We have 2 basketball courts, volleyball courts, soccer field, ball field, baseball and softball. We have 2 playgrounds, and obviously we have all the landscaping in the public areas. So that's a lot of stuff our systems are paying for. In addition to all the standard infrastructure stuff.
Transfer it to that speaker over there.
You have to do treating the speak up.
I think streetlights too is in there.
Yeah, streetlights.
Streetlight,
That's a fixed cost.
that's a fixed cost.
I could think brand that, thinking.
Yeah, the streetlights are on a lease from Duke Energy, so there's that. But anyway, back to the 3 big items. It seemed to us in our just preliminary discussion, is there any stomach among the residents to adjust on these 3 items? Because that would be the easiest way to bring the increase from 23% down into 10%, would be, are the residents okay with an option on a security system? Would the residents be okay on finding their internet retail rather than the community amenity? That's why we did those surveys. And the surveys very, very strongly sent the message, we want these amenities. 75% of the survey respondents says, yes, we want to keep it. Yes, we want to keep it. So we heard you and we thank you. That's why we asked. We want to make that kind of decision unilaterally or trilaterally, whatever the word would be for 5 of us. We need to hear from the residents on what they're paying for. They prefer their dues to not go up as much, or you get the point. So with that, 37% roughly of next year's budget is kind of fixed. So yes,
I
sir.
think I should mention that about the internet, when we looked at the Century Link contract, we had 2 other bids involved, but one of the other things that we did is a new company came out with putting stations on all the street lights, and that would transmit the instead of using the fiber optic, it would transmit the internet from the street poles to your homes.
We have wireless access points.
And it was a fantastic idea, and it would have been probably a little cheaper, but Duke Energy wouldn't allow it on their poles. So that idea didn't get any groundwork because Duke would have had to approve it and they wouldn't approve it. So I mean, that would have been a really up-to-date method of doing Wi-Fi, but we couldn't do it.
Yes, sir, in back.
Yeah, was there a problem before the association took in the internet company and made us pay for it? I mean, didn't we survive without that before making our own choices?
I answered that.
I'd like to know, because I paid my internet bills. I mean, I had the choice to choose whatever internet company I wanted, but now I don't.
I'll let Ken Bear, so previous.
I was involved with it, and the coaxial has basically 20 lines. And we probably had spectrum out to our house probably 100 times. And where I live, if you're on line 5, then all of a sudden your neighbor changes their system, their router to use line 5. Then you share that volume that comes through line 5. Then your neighbor across the street says, oh, I'm going to use line 5. So they use line 5. So all of a sudden you go down to 1/3. We were in a situation where during COVID, when we had spectrum, my wife was a school teacher. The kids had to get on the internet for their school. My wife was teaching from home. We couldn't use it. We had to get actually a hotspot to help it because Spectrum couldn't handle it. And the problem was that you couldn't get any more lines in the coaxial. And Spectrum didn't want to put fiber optic in. We went to them and said, you know, can you get fiber optic for us? No, we're not willing to do that in your neighborhood.
I understand that, and that's fine, because we're having that same problem now with Central, okay? A lot of people having problems with their internet, so you would have had that choice to change your internet and do whatever you want to go through, but now you don't have that choice. Now we have to go by whatever you guys put in power.
Well, you
don't
can
have that option.
reduce Spectrum.
We gotta pay still.
Yeah, but the Spectrum, that goes out more than CenturyLink goes out.
They all go out.
There you go.
Well, the last
There
thing,
you go.
We have a choice now.
I know, but the last couple of times it went out, AT&T cut the line.
That may be true, but the point is that now we don't have that power of choosing now who we want to be with. When we bought these houses, we didn't buy the house because we had this internet. We bought the house because our house and all together and then we had. Now you added, increased our budget, now we're over budget, and now we're finding ways to how do we reduce our budget? Get rid of the gift cards? No, that was part of the thing that we bought the house for. We didn't buy the internet, but it's forced on us.
I can speak to that just real quickly. When we came in 2016, Spectrum was the only service provider in here. So we didn't have a choice then either, Spectrum, and now we have the fiber. The fiber costs $29.95 roughly. $30.
$27.95. $27.95.
$27.95, we'll call it 30. But $27.95 per home, per month. To get.
For 500, for 5 megabytes.
No fees and taxes, none.
Right, internet only, that's not your phone, that's not your TV, so you don't get the value now. You don't get the deal.
I don't know that I don't have TV service, so I can't speak to that. I have cell phones with AT&T, but the point is, we're paying $27.95 per home per month for the CenturyLink. If we were to cut the CenturyLink, pay $100 dollars to save $1 million over the next 5 years, you all would have to go and get those, and this is what you all told us, you'd have to get that service at retail, whether it's through Spectrum at $60, $70 a month, or the retail fiber CenturyLink is about $55 a month, so it's roughly double.
I was paying $110 a month.
I understand that too, like what you just said, if that was the case, then we could get our own hotspots, we could do this, we could do that, it would be our choice though. Okay, now it's not our choice.
Well, you still.
You can still get it.
I'm still voting.
Upgrade, I
The
think.
T-Mobile hotspot you can get is $35 a
Yeah,
month.
T-Mobile.
And we actually have a pretty good signal here because the tower is right by McDonald's there.
But that's where you're located. That's not your place.
But when I first.
We got your-
Yes, sir.
Hold on. Let's not talk over everybody.
Yes, sir.
Please.
We moved here on the property in 2011, you were renting. CenturyLink was already. You guys did this in 2016. Fiber optic was instilled as the best, of course, this is why it's a big reason why you guys went technology wise, went fiber optic, nothing right now needs fiber optics. It's just any place that you get, any brand you go with as far as service provider, they're gonna be in and out. That's just the bottom line, that's technology. As far as us, yes, we're stuck as a community with this deal, but as we all typically do, you can go with Spectrum, you go with a outside source. So, yes, it sucks as a community what we're getting, the service we're getting, but it is cheaper that, but you can still do your own hotspots and stuff like that. The reason Duke wouldn't allow with the pinpointing of that, it's not reliable and it's there. If something happens to it, then it's an argument of who's responsible for that. So that's why they didn't flip it. But technology wise, you're not making that decision far as fiber optics. But CenturyLink was here prior to 2016.
Thank you. If we could steer the company, if we could steer it back toward budgeting and not technology, that'd be good. Any more questions related to it from a budget standpoint? I want to move on from the technological piece. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, but did CenturyLink go up every year? or-
No.
No.
So,
So
everything else.
when you say it's 11% of our budget, it's just always been up.
Actually, it's 14% this year because the whole budget is rising next year. That fixed piece is a smaller slice of the whole.
So it's less this year.
The numbers of the dollar amount is the same, but because the overall budget is larger, that slice of the pie is smaller, a smaller piece of the whole. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah, regarding budget, no, what I'm saying, what I need to suggest is our wall line, like ivy is never taken care of. So we might as well get rid of it and reduce the landscaping cost. When we bought the house in 2007, it was perfectly maintained, only like the 2 inches off the wall, showing the shapes of the pillars and everything, right?
Yes, sir.
Now it's about 1 foot thick in many places, and some places it's totally bad. It's so ugly, I think we need to get rid of it.
Yeah,
I think reduce to.
as part of the overall landscaping contract, and we've been in communication with them about getting the bus in gear and getting the ivy trimmers out, because they've been lax in that area. I don't know what all factors are involved in that. Not yet started yet.
They're doing it in sections though, well, they have, because they've sent me pictures, they've done sections.
I have to go to that road every day. It's just the same all the time. And you know,
They've been making progress, I know it doesn't look like it, cause it's a lot of work, but they have been working through it,
but
so.
the previous landscaping company, they used to do it all in once, one and.
Well, these,
Not toward the end.
Do you want to address that specific question?
Well, what I wanted to tell you is that you really don't have the option of taking it off the wall, because all those roots and things have embedded themselves and it's stuck up.
Well, as far as removing the ivy itself.
Yeah, you're not gonna get that ivy off of the wall.
No, that's not an
Somebody
option.
should suggest that.
it might have seemed like the previous landscapers did, once they're able to get everything, because at the end of the last landscaper's contract, they stopped doing it. So that's how everything got so overgrown. The new landscaper started just a few months ago, and they've been working on a lot of other stuff, a lot of priorities like irrigation, landscaping at the pool. So they have a lot to catch up on. But they are doing it in sections, and then once the whole wall is done, then they'll be able to maintain it properly. And it'll look better.
Yes, sir.
So what was the budget percentage of our deficit, projected deficit for next year? You say it's 24?
It was 23.7 if we adopted the proposed preliminary budget as is. We have some questions to work through, and there's clearly some areas we need to cut.
We've never done that in the past. We always, it always comes in over. So we have to tweak it.
Yeah, there's some tweaks to do. We're covenanted, is that the right word? The bylaws say we can do no more than a 10% increase each year.
Yeah.
Without getting, without a vote, yes.
So what is like, so we're looking at a 14% deficit if we do the 10% increase, which I'm sure we're gonna do again if we don't doing that, just to try to keep up with everything.
I apologize, I was.
No, like, if we do the 10% again, like we've been doing for the last couple of years, that's it, we just have to keep up with everything. We're looking at 14%. I didn't do the math, but what's that dollar amount?
How much per household?
I'll do some quick math here for you, 1, 7, 7, 9, 15, I did this, and I don't have it written down. 1, 4, 3, 9, 9, 7, the total dollar amount is, I have it written down right there, now that I see the numbers, 338,000 divided by 613 homes would be $550 a year. Can you repeat?
An increase?
That's the proposed increase, the $550 a year per home, roughly. Divided by 4 would be $138 per quarterly assessment. We're working to get that down. I don't want to pay a 23% increase. I don't want to pay a 10% increase. But inflation is what it is, and it's hard to do, but we're gonna work through it, and we're gonna come up with the best solution possible. And my goal when I came on the board, I told Warren this, I think confirm, my goal was a flat budget, no increase at all. We can dream, can't we?
Well, for 10 years, it was that way. We never increased finally had to 20.
You didn't have the insurance problem.
Yes, sir. One comment about the increases, both in landscaping, the security, any services we have. The labor market has gone out of whack, okay? Security was at one point in time $10 or $12 now. I think it's like $20, $22. The landscaping guys, they're having a hard time finding people to do the job. and they're paying $22, $24. So that labor rate has gone up so much in the last 4 or 5 years that's why these expenses have gone up so much, because they have to pay more for the labor, so their contracts and their costs are more equal.
So, this is.
Hold on, let me
I'd like to revisit this question you asked, the number you just gave, 23%. What would it be on the 14%?
The 14% is just the operating budget, that does not include the reserve funding. Yeah, and the reserve funding, that's what brings it up to the 23%.
Right, I understand that part, the same place, we did the 10% increase that we normally do every year anyway. So that only leaves a 14% difference. So how much would that be if we were to increase it by 14%?
The number on that is, I find that, that's fun. Essentially, the big hit in the increase is the reserve funding. And those numbers are based on the reserve study that was done over the winter and was presented over the summer. And that increase is more than double. This year's reserve funding portion of the budget is $238,800. Those numbers are based on the 2021 reserve study that projected out what the reserve should be for each of the succeeding years, and that's what is in place now. The reserve study that was just completed is recommending for fiscal 26, $490,281. So a jump from 238 to 490, that's 105%, more than double.
Why did it go up those?
Most of it, a lot of it's the roads. Most of it is the road funding.
Infrastructure.
This year's budget for road reserve funding is 90,000, and the proposed is 349,000.
Roads are
So
overdue.
the biggest hit is in the road reserve.
Same guys have been making their recommendations every time, we've been following, so.
Yeah, maybe you could do a special assessment for the roads.
That's a distinct possibility. We have some bids for work on having it done, just to know what we'd be looking at if we did it. The numbers that come back on those requests for proposals, what it's called, an RFP. When those proposals come back in, that will inform a lot of what the next steps might be.
A lot of the costs associated with roads is based on the price of oil.
Yeah.
So when they did the price of oil back in 21, it may have been $60
Yeah.
Barrett.
Yeah, now it's 120, I don't know, I don't follow the cost of oil. That's attributable to the fixing of the roads, it's the cost of oil.
The other thing that went up in the,
186 today.
well, that's
186.
That's not all that's involved in asphalt. You have all the aggregate that comes in. And when COVID hit, we lost a lot of the mines that we used to get aggregate from,
Folks,
and it went through the seal.
Labor.
That's it.
everybody want to track this up real quickly. I do not want to bog down on details of that. I just wanted to present a first blush, what the preliminary proposal would look like, and some of the inquiries we made into how can we address this. I just really wanted to mainly address why we sent out the surveys and the purpose behind those. We're going to take it from here, and we're going to have a finance committee meeting in the next week or so, and we're going to have a budget workshop with the rest of the board that will be publicly open, and love your input on that. So one more question, and then we'll move on to the next.
The back gate, when you turn off for the road, you come down to the back gate, the wall that's there is so dark at night. Have y'all ever thought about maybe put some solar lights or something along that wall?
Outside of the wall.
The eagles, wherever you got, where that sign is, maybe put some lights pointing at the.
That's something we can look into.
That would be-
I'm trying to expect the increase, but if we want, if the amenities get desired, we'll find a place for it. Thank you all, appreciate the input and the discussion. There'll be more to come, obviously. I did want to let you know what we were looking at a preliminary draft budget. Lots of work to do. We're gonna do the absolute best we can to make it the hardship on the residents with an increase as low as possible. Because we all know everything has gone up in price. City of BoD just levied a fire assessment next year, $400 some per home. So we're not the only ones that we all are paying for, to live here. So we want to do the best we can to not have you, me, us pay any more than we have to. but still provide the services and amenities that you expect and the reason you live in here. So, yes, sir, one more comment and we'll move on.
Then I was still picking up her, in Kendall, that light issue back there is a safety issue, you can bring it up. So it's kind of like to the point of saying, we're gonna look into it, it's like, it's something that needs to be.
The dark
Yeah, the, all stuff that's going on, like I said, it's been talked about for years, so it's something that you know.
Appreciate that. I was not aware of all that.
Can't do that, I'm doing right, that's, yeah.
Thank you all again. Are you more? No. Okay.
Let me,
Hey, Warren, if you want to also check in the Zoom meeting, there's people that are coming up with comments and stuff.
Oh, yes, we'll take comments from the Zoom participants. Thank you, Terry. I apologize for you all being online. You're not forgotten, you're just outside. And Natalie will read questions if they've been chatted in.
are we able to search for the flexible items, security and lawn maintenance to see if we can get cheaper providers?
We are trying. Yes, we're trying.
Okay. Did we negotiate with these providers? Do we ever put the contracts up for bidding? Yeah,
Yes, that's what it's time
landscapers
for.
were just bidded out.
Yeah, that's the time we're doing it.
Months ago, and it was the cheapest, and the same thing was, their legals were bidded out.
And the contracts are largely annual, I believe, is that correct? Largely
I usually sign for 3 years.
3 years in some cases.
And landscaping contract.
Okay,
And
so
you don't typically want change landscape often.
not
because-
too often.
Yeah, it's, and or if these 3 areas are 40%, what flexibility do we have on the other 60% of the costs?
Well, there's some, I only mentioned these 3 because they're the 3 single largest items. But, for example, the contract with Leland is, I won't say how much, it's not a double-digit percentage of the budget,
Yeah, leave them alone.
but. It's Moving on to
You
the,
gotta give us the numbers, just because you don't feel comfortable with the numbers, that's information.
it's roughly 50,000.
It's also on the financials.
Yeah, it's on a financial report here, but it's roughly 50,000 for Leland. There's the pool maintenance and upkeep contract is in there. There's a lot of smaller items, pest control, obviously the utilities and things like that. So these are just the 3 single line items in the budget that account for a double-digit percentage of
Not counting insurance, any insurance.
insurance as well as another one. But that's a non-negotiable. So I didn't include it in what we discussed.
You can shop it. Yes, you can shop it.
Yeah, so we
Sure.
can shop insurance.
Yeah, we do shop insurance.
Yeah.
We have an insurance agent that shops the best rates from all the carriers before they send us the proposal every year. Absolutely.
Believe it or not, I believe our property liability insurance is actually going down slightly for 26.
Yeah,
So,
all the agents in the industry have said it's finally starting to level out. Every budget year, they tell us you're gonna have to budget 30% increase, 40% increase, and I have seen some associations go up that much. This year, they're telling us 10% of most, so we can get away with budgeting even 70% increase, which is great.
I just wanna say something really quickly as it relates to Leland, and I don't know what the allegiance is, but just like how we need to shop everything around, because I don't think Leland has always been the management company here, and
it's not, no.
exactly, and what I noticed a difference, stark difference in the upkeep of the community and other things, that Leland is not doing. So I just think that if they're gonna be making this money, they have to see it somewhere, and so I think it's time for us to look at other options.
We are looking at everything, I will just specifically address the upkeep is like.
Do you mind telling me, just so that I
I know
know?
we're from Leland, and so
Yeah, and so I-
you're gonna be very defensive, but we're not here to do that right now.
No, I'm not
We're
being
not
defensive,
gonna-
I wanna write down.
I'll email you.
You'll email me?
I'll email
Perfect, okay,
Yeah.
cause if you're unhappy, we wanna know.
Thank you. Yeah. You cannot be that defensive because we're here to have open.
I'm not being defensive, I'm
Have an
happy.
attitude and I don't like it. Turn it down.
No, I was just saying, if you're unhappy,
Even
I
your
want
emails have a tone that I don't appreciate.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Yeah. Thank you all for your comments. We're gonna move on from the budget to the next agenda items.
Thank you, Rohit. That's fine.
Is there a comment? I apologize, I didn't say it. Yes, ma'am?
I just wanted to know, are we at the correct percentage for reserves in our neighborhood that's recommended? I know like if you belong to like a condo association or a townhome, there's like a minimum requirement for the state. I don't know if it's that way for like a single family home. Is that right?
There are recommended reserve levels based on the reserve study that's done every 3 years, where the engineers come in and look at everything and.
So there's no state requirement, but there's a recommended.
Not on homeowners.
Okay.
Not in a single family situation.
So if you said this, I didn't hear it, are we at that, the appropriate level?
In some cases, yes, the individual reserve accounts for specific things are fully funded. So we don't, not budgeting any additional for that for next year. Some are woefully short. The roads in particular, we hold 1.1 million in reserves. Again, we have proposals out. You get the word, if they come back and tell us it's gonna cost 3 million to do your roads, then we can't do roads, right? Because we only have a third of the cost without taking other measures. So that's the largest hit. Was the reserve study said we needed to significantly ramp up what we set aside in reserves to do the roads, because the covenants say it should be done between 8 and 12 years. I don't believe it's ever been done.
Okay.
Ever. So we're a bit behind on the life cycle and all those kind of things.
Entrances to each of the different like Tuscania, Calabria, I walk a lot in the neighborhood. And those walls are all chipped and the paint's chipped and they're like, it looks really, really bad.
Those are due for a refresh, and those are some things that we're.
So that's part of,
about.
in the reserves, is that a reserve item or? Yeah.
Well, it depends on the cost and what the item is. If it's just paint, that's a maintenance item that wouldn't come from reserves. But if.
Some of them are
it's-
actually crashing and falling apart.
Yeah, those kind of things would be reserve items, so.
Okay.
I appreciate the question. Yeah, some of the short answer is some of our reserves are funded, some are not.
Yeah, what if we had a community cleanup day and you got volunteers to go do some of that cleaning?
Liability, but that is a possibility. We have to see where our liability insurance allows. And that's unfortunately the reality of the risk management growth.
We can't even get residents to put up their Christmas lights.
Well, I don't know, because we
Tried that in the past and no one showed up, so.
Yeah, that's. All right, well, let's move on to the next item. Thank you all again.
Thank you.
The agenda. Did you say something?
I'm sorry, this is the ladies volunteer idea. So Christmas tree is this question, so it's actually not part of the budget, right? So it's interest. When you talk about money, maybe folks are more interested in doing something. Security. Any chance for the hour if they charge by hour? Any volunteer opportunity for two departments?
Yeah, I suspect that's probably not an option, because that's a company that's contracted with, and the security folks are their employees. That's what you're welcome to apply for a job with.
Risk losing the whole business is better than reducing the hours and more flexible thing. So just I know it's a bit wild idea, but it's great. We have to explore all.
I have to explore all. The only bad idea is the one that's not mentioned. Throwing stuff at the wall, something eventually is going to stick. And you gotta clean up the wall, and it's another expense, so. Let's move on.
Or as a line controls here in front of you for collection and enforcement, we have a couple cases on. The account ending in 10101 remaining. So then we have 1931 with lawn, Wood tools 11 for the sidewalk, and 8101 for the sidewalk. Yeah, so that's why I mentioned all four. Can I get a motion? Yeah, on 4 cases.
Yeah, for the 4 cases, I'll make a motion to refer to the attorneys.
I'm sorry, what is that for?
These are cases that are going to be referred to the attorney for violations.
People who have violations.
Oh, those are
Painting.
the different houses?
Lawn, correct. We don't have the exact addresses there. We're not saying the addresses, but each case has a number.
And in one specific case, their deadline to paint was January of 2024. And it still hasn't been done, so the neighbors don't want to look at that. So we have to bring in some sharper teeth to hopefully light a fire and some votes to bring down the neighborhood. We hate to do this, but it's kind of a
Yeah, what is it costing us
cost of
to
revenue.
go after those people?
Man,
What is it costing us to go after those people?
we just
They paid.
ultimately they pay it, the upfront cost of $1,100. But ultimately, that's part of the fine. I use the word fine.
The attorney,
Part of the cost is then the homeowner pays the legal fees.
yeah, the attorney recovers all of the fees and everything and reimburses the association.
So you put a lien on their property.
Not every time, but yeah, that it can lead to that.
That's the last straw. That's the last step that we in the process, and you never want to do that. There's stuff going on in people's lives that we don't necessarily know about. But we're elected to uphold what's written in the covenants.
I know.
And when people buy
It's
in here,
like
they-
giving a poor person a traffic. You know, they don't have the money to paint the house, now you're gonna pay, oh, now you owe $11,000.
so, and in many cases, now some of these obviously going back into last year. I wasn't on board, so I can't speak specifically to the situation. I don't know if those homeowners have reached out and asked for help or said yay, no, boo, or, you know, are they around? I know we had some.
Leland knows that on every one.
Yeah, we did all that, so.
Anybody that reaches out to me, I give them fine. I mean, I work with them.
Yeah, we want to understand.
The ones that make it here are the ones that we repeatedly sent letters and tried to reach out and no response. So we try to be as.
We have to do that.
We want to understand as much grace as we can, but we're elected to uphold the covenants, and the covenants say these things, you know, need to keep up. So yes, sir, to that.
Do you have to notify the board if you're replacing your grass at all?
That's a,
I believe that's an arc. That's
I think your grass restarted basically. Do you have to notify the board that no?
Yeah.
Just requesting it from the register.
Yes.
good.
But if you did and you put in AstroTurf, you get a letter, you have to put it in so grass.
Put it in the same grass as the same.
I think there's 3 varieties,
in writing.
but anyway, yes, sir.
Can you not have it repainted the same colors instead of going to the attorney and might put that amount on that?
I think if it's the same, if you're repainting, correct me if I'm wrong, if you're repainting the same color, then you don't leave it on the house.
No, I'm just asking about this. I'm just asking about this thing. That instead of going to the attorney to force him to paint it and all that, can we not just, I mean, the HOA just say that go and paint the same color.
The HOA has the right to do that, but it's not something that we go for first. The attorney sends them a letter and gives them the option to allow the HOA to, it's called a self-help, for the HOA to go on the property and repaint. It's just not a practice that the HOA wants to do. That constitutes having a contractor for us going on somebody's property. It's typically avoided. So, yeah, the attorney will send them a demand letter. Give them the option to let the HOA do it for them, and then they pay it, or they do it themselves and they give them a deadline.
And what are the issue with the sidewalk? I mean, I don't know.
I should wash the sidewalk.
Oh, pressure also.
So
Meaning the front, meaning the.
In the front,
In the
yeah,
front?
the front, and then if you're on a corner, on the sides.
Okay, pressure washing sidewalks, right? I have another property in a gated community. And every once in a while, like maybe twice a year, they said, I don't know, and they go, hey, we gotta deal with this guy. And for $60, he'll come pressure wash your paved driveway. You know, and you can, it's optional, but it's a requirement, right? But at least they offer someone with a price they've negotiated, which would be really nice if you guys could do something like that.
We can definitely look into that. Yeah, I can look, I mean, I know.
We did that for the street tree removal, back, on their thing.
Got like a bulk deal.
They both deal.
Yes, ma'am.
So for,
Folks, please. Yes, ma'am.
So from a budget standpoint on these, so you're saying these are being referred to the attorney?
Yes.
Is, they've actually been pursued for quite some time? All of them have?
Those four that are on the list, yes, have been in the
four
system for a
notices,
while.
I've received 4 notices over the course of the last 4 to 6 months.
And no responses? Okay, and so the initial cost is 1,100 for the attorney? and
No,
then-
there is no initial cost until the attorney will send a demand.
Okay,
And that's basically just a letter that we're gonna send.
Right.
That fee goes directly to the homeowner. It gets billed directly to the homeowner, all of the administrative fees from the attorney.
okay.
If the homeowner ignores the attorney and basically does nothing, after, I think it's 30 or 45 days, I would have to look at the policy, but after a certain amount of time, then it would come back to the board to proceed with litigation. And then there's a flat fee for that litigation, it's $1,150. That has to be paid upfront. It's kind of like a retainer, like that you would pay your personal attorney just to do a case. Once the matter is closed, the attorney recovers all, that's part of the agreement and part of the closing the judgment, is to recover those fees, and then it's given back to the association that $1,150. But everything else is billed directly to the homeowner.
Isn't it cheaper just to put the lien on the property?
That's part of the process. When they go to litigation, that's what it is. It's putting the lien on the property. But the attorney has to do that, and we have to pay them to do that. Then after the matter is resolved, one way or another, the association recovers all of the fees that we had to pay.
Okay, so to put a lien on the property, it has to involve the attorney?
Oh, yeah,
So not the HOA?
no, the attorney has to do that, yeah.
So we have a motion on the floor.
Yes, I made a motion.
We have a motion on the floor. Okay, there's one question. Oh, there is.
How long does the litigation normally last? Is it over a year? So looking at the budget here, but it's like we're in the deficit for our legal fees already. It's only like $6,000 over. Whereas our legal collection has only been $6,000.
That's mostly collections. Covenant enforcement is a very small percentage of the legal fees. What you're seeing is basically mostly from the collections, from homeowners that are late on their assessments and that are not paying their assessments. And once it goes to litigation, it will take a very long time, yeah.
Sometimes 5 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Not until the house sells sometimes.
And I wish my grass grew as slow as the legal process is.
Yeah, what's the motion? Okay, there is a motion on the floor by Carl, seconded by Brian. Move these 4 cases, the attorney. All in favor? I'll give the second motion. Yeah, I said, and seconded by Brian. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any carries? 5 cases of procedures, none. Then let's see, suspended. Funds in arrears of $50 in the past, due to 90 days.
Yeah. There's several. Yeah, there's some.
That area.
So this is just a general, any accounts that are over years, over $50 in the past over.
Okay, so.
I make a motion to pay the delinquency suspension to $50.
Second. We have a motion on the floor for accounts in arrears due for $50 in the past 90 days due. Seconded by, motion by Carl, seconded by Brian. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Garage sale, like just split the residents to the garage sale has been set for this weekend, 27th and 28th. 8 AM to 2 PM. Been posted on the electronic board, and so that's the dates. A couple of people have written and asked. The dates are 27th and 28th. It's this Saturday and Sunday. All right. As far as date for next meeting. Before set a date for the next meeting, is there any issue that we have not addressed tonight that anyone that addressed or?
Question, so my sidewalk, while back, they came and they like put like paint on it, cause we never had it replaced. And they were saying that somebody was gonna come and sand it, whatever. But the paint like kind of like really faded, and I noticed they came and they did like some neighbors around me, but it never did ours. So I didn't know, like, is that still happening? Is that not happening?
Can you send me an email with your address? And I'll have them come back, yeah, if they missed you.
Okay.
Check it against the list that she provided, which I think I may still have. If you send me that email too, I can check.
7 years ago, 8 years ago, maybe, I got some of those painted dots on my sidewalk. And right after I got a letter to pressure wash my sidewalk, so I did, pressure washed the dots of it. So,
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking about.
I think my husband cleaned it.
Thank you for keeping your sidewalk.
Sorry about.
This is being on what olive branch, because you work for Leland, is hear me out, this address everybody has concerns about Leland. Google, Leland Management, Western Bay, always for the negative issues and problems. So you have negative issues and problems associated with Leland Management, this is not you, you're not Leland, for a company, don't take it personally.
450 communities.
Or delayed communication, unreasonable or inconsistent enforcement of community rules, like landscaping violations, allegations of intimidation, or unethical behavior toward homeowners, lack of transparency regarding community matters. Homeowners also report cases for lack of responsiveness, and feeling that their company prioritizes its own interests over community needs. Here are some specific complaints from homeowners and former employees. Communication responses, delayed and unresponsive communication. Multiple reviewers on Yelp and Indeed have reported that Leland is slow to respond to emails for taking a very long time to provide status updates and concerns. Lack of transparency. Some homeowners feel that there is a lack of transparency regarding actions taken or decisions made within the community. Community and rule enforcement. Arbitrary rule enforcement. Complaints suggest that the Leland management enforces rules such as landscaping standards that are arbitrary and suspicious and not in line with the homeowner expectations. Entering properties without consent. One severe complaint alleged that Leland management authorized their landscapers to enter to a homeowner's property and remove their yard without consent or knowledge. Unsaid violation notice. Homeowners have reported receiving violation notice for issues that seem to be based on subjective opinions or biased notations or first class conditions. Behavioral and unethical concerns, harassment, and intimidation. Some reviews, these are reviews online, not make this up.
Is this for Western Bay?
This is Western Bay according to me. That's it. Harassment and intimidation. Some reviews indicate that Leland management may resort to types to harass, intimidate, or bully homeowners in conforming to their views. Exclusion from public communications. A homeowner can feel standing report being delayed with exclusion from public communications and media related to their community. Lack of accountability. Some homeowners describe a lack of accountability for management actions, tendency to brush off a lot of issues under the rug. Other issues focus on money over property improvement. Some residents feel that Leland management is more interested in collecting fees and improving the property and community. Perceived bias. There have been alleged of favoritism and unethical practices within the company. This is online. So you ask, where is this coming from? The young lady brought it up. You can Google it yourself. Exactly what I Googled.
It doesn't make it authoritative.
I'm not saying authority.
If you Google if you Google Leland management, you're gonna get as a company as a whole. But specifically to Western Bay.
Leland management, Western Bay.
Right, it's still gonna pull up.
That's exactly what I put in.
No, I understand, but because you put in Leland management, so it's gonna automatically pull up the company as a whole. And all the bad, remember, we're a management company, we're the most hated people at all the communities.
I get what you're saying, but again, you asked me.
So, right, and that is helpful, that I could definitely share with our leadership team as far as Leland management as a whole. I would like to know also specific to Western Bay, that's why I was asking that lady.
You keep missing the part. I said Western Bay, this is my fourth time in the house, this is Western Bay, this is not legal management over the US.
Okay, I appreciate your comments. All I can say is that, as we all know, You can put anything out there. If you one-sided, both-sided. I appreciate it. If y'all have some concerns, bring it to the board. Okay? I can't speak for the past. I have not experienced any of those problems. This board has been in place since May. Thank you for what you've read. I don't agree with it, but certainly there are two sides to every story. The truth lies somewhere in between.
I have a most recent matter that I had to obtain an attorney for regarding the same reviews that you have been reading. I wanted to address it with the board privately after the meeting. Because I do understand, like for me, my company that I work for pays my legal fees. So it doesn't come out of my pocket to obtain an attorney to handle a matter. But I do understand it comes out of all the homeowners' pockets as far as the legal fees go. So there are some things that I would like to discuss, perhaps privately, if that's okay. Regarding how we can perhaps improve the communication a little bit better.
So we'll adjourn the regular business meeting and we'll give you a few minutes to discuss what you have. And we'll go from there. Is there anything else that anybody would like to say? Just kind
I just have one question, because I know you all sent the surveys out for both the Century Link as well as for the security guard. And I have friends and relatives who lives in the community, so I asked them, did you see the survey, did you complete it? They never got it through an email, so how is that community, how does it being sent out, what type of, what individuals?
I know it was placed on Dwelling Guide and on the legal website, and there were notices placed on both the electronic boards in the front and on the back. Asking residents to go to the site and to do the survey. In the beginning, I talked about asking folks to make sure that their dwelling life account is accurate. That's the information we use for emails.
What am I, is that someone follow with them and let them make sure they address is whether from which site and location?
Yeah, the communications committee that sends those out uses the email address of record, which is what would be in the line.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
In the same line, there are some people that I know, they are not computer savvy. They somehow, they are not able to get off of very live themselves, get the surveys and all that. So I do not know when we get only like 78 surveys on the Century Link and the 300 and something for the guard. I think we can get more of the surveys and get a better feedback if we have some other way to do it, like maybe on major issues like these major items that we are talking about, and we send it out a physical copies to the people.
Send it up. I'm sorry, I didn't. Okay.
Because the thing is that couple of neighbors, they said we did not get the email. One said we got the email, but I do not know how to get on the dwelling line. I mean, there are not, everybody is not computer savvy. Okay. So if you can send it out by physical mail, maybe that will get a better feedback.
They got an option, people have to sign up for that option, so it don't be expensive. For people that don't want to go online, that they'll sign up to say, hey, can you mail it to me? Yeah, but let's.
Yes,
So that again, no, if they cannot get on that, then there's a
Communication in the community.
yes, Ken.
I don't know what the percentage is now, but it used to be like 20%. The homes are owned by corporations.
Over 30.
Yeah, how much? 30?
I don't know the percentage, so.
I don't know, but normally the corporations don't respond.
Yeah, it is a owners association, although I use the term residents often. It's the owners that receive this communication through that or otherwise don't own your home. It's a homeowner association, not a residents association. I realize it's a, swatting at gnats kind of thing, but that's kind of how it works. Yes, sir, one more comment.
Yes, sir. Thank you for all. I'm a homeowner, and today I just fly from the west coast here to take some of the residents, including me in here. And thank you all for the opinion. And I did vote, even I was involved. Okay, so many times I did on this bus, and survey in very previous times. So I have to leave it as a little so very interesting and important decision. I hope you reach good consensus. So I will feel assured as a remote investor. I hope that we move here. Okay, I just talked, but I will move here several years later. I wish to see a part of the community. Okay, thank you all. Thank you.
Well, I wish we had the I voted stickers to give you one. Good night, thank you.
I think that's all I handle. Okay. All right, on that note, proposed date for the next board meeting is October the 22nd, which is a Wednesday. Be here at the clubhouse, and we'll also be doing it on Zoom. And that, let's entertain a motion to
Make a motion to adjourn.
adjourn.
It's,
Second. It's the motion on the floor by Carl, adjourned, seconded by Brian. All in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you all for
Thank you, everybody online. We're gonna sign off now.
coming. Yeah.